welcome back to my channel. My name is Ella. Sorry about the shaky cam. Don't worry, we're about to move in just a second when we get started. But today we are going to do a what you should be reading this fall video. So I'm going to give you like 10 books, I think, that I think you should be adding to your fall TBR, because I think that all of these books are wonderful books on their own and also wonderful to read for the fall season specifically. So let's just jump into the list. Okay, so we're going to start with the romance, and the first book I'm going to recommend is The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. So The Ex-Hex follows Vivian and her ex Rise, and they dated when they were younger, and then they broke up because he was going back to England, and she was pissed, so she cast a hex on him. So this all takes place in a small, not real town, I think, in Georgia, which is where I'm from, so extra cozy. The town is like the town in Halloween Town, the movie. It's very cozy vibes. It is so vibey. Also, count how many damn times I'm gonna say vibes in this video. I promise it's gonna be a lot. Anyway, Rise is going to come back to this town years later to fulfill his familial duties to the town, and when he comes back, that's what triggers the hex to take place, and that is going to result in the town being in danger. So Rise and Vivian are going to have to work together to undo this hex, and obviously romance will ensue, and it's going to be cozy and Halloweeny and perfect, and I love it. I think it's like a 5-star must read for the month of October. So the second romance and last romance I'm going to recommend to you is actually The Kiss Curse by Erin Sterling. The Kiss Curse is the second book after The Ex-Hex, but it follows different characters, so they're not really connected. You don't necessarily have to read both or even in order. But The Kiss Curse follows Gwen and Wells. Gwen is Vivian's cousin from the first book. Wells is Rise's brother. So there is some like familial connection. Vivian and Rise make like a brief appearance in the book, but it mostly is about Gwen and Wells's relationship. They open up rivaling stores across from each other, and it's also, again, the Halloween season, so there's some festivals going on and stuff. So again, very, very cozy vibes, very perfect for the October month. All right, next I've actually got 3 short stories for you that you should be reading, and that is the Scary Stories 1, 2, and 3. They recently made a Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark movie in like 2020, which was pretty good. It took a few stories from these books and made it a movie. So basically it's just what the title says. They're just all full of a bunch of different like scary stories and like pictures and stuff that you can read. All the stories are pretty short, but it's fun. It's very vibesy if you just read like 1 or 2 a day to get you in the Halloween mood. Also, if you like need scary stories for some reason, like you're trying to scare others. Okay, my next recommendation for you is going to be Wayward by Amelia Hart. Wayward follows 3 different points of view: Altha, Violet, and Kate. It starts with Altha in the 1600s, and Violet and Kate are descendants of Altha. Violet's story takes place in the 1940s, and then Kate takes place in 2019. So it's the line of women, and it is how all of them sort of discover that they are witches of sorts. They have powers in nature and with plants and animals and things like that, and it follows their struggles with friendships, relationships, and like their family and things like that, and how they come into power on their own. And it takes place in England. There's a cute cozy cottage, and it's very witchy girl boss vibes, so it's perfect. Next, I'm going to recommend to you My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. This book follows 2 best friends, obviously, Gretchen and Abby, and it follows them from when they meet when they're younger until about high school, and then a little bit after. when one of them gets possessed by a demon, and the other one is gonna have to fight for this friendship and see, you know, is this a possession or is my friend just turning into a bitch? And if this is a possession, nobody believes me, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna save her? So it's very like 80s vibes. It's very like Stranger Things, like The Exorcist. I think it's very, very good for this month, especially if you like exorcism type stories, and like the paranormal, and then the 80s vibes as well. So you should check this one out. Okay, next we're gonna move into the fantasy recommendations, and I've got Legends and Lattes for you. You already know what Legends and Lattes is about, but I'm telling you, if you've been thinking about reading it, this is the perfect time to read it because it's very cozy fantasy vibes. It feels very autumnal. You could get a little coffee drink and then drink it and read this book and have such a great time. Light a little pumpkin spice candle. You know how it is. You got to set the mood, and this is a perfect book for setting the mood for the season, because of the epic cozy vibes. So you should check it out. Okay, the next fantasy recommendation I have for you is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I love this cover. It's very glossy. Controversial, but I like glossy covers. I don't know if they're well liked or not, but cute cover. Also, look at this gorgeous, adorable little bookmark I've got there. Got it from Etsy, of course. So The Night Circus, a lot of people say, and they are correct, that it doesn't have the best plot. The plot is a bit murky. It can be confusing, especially because it is not in chronological order, this book. It kind of jumps around timelines. If I were going to reread it, I would maybe like tab it to read it in chronological order, but that's just me being crazy. I don't know. But you should read this in the fall months because of the vibes. The vibes of this book are immaculate. If you are a reader who reads for the vibes, you'll like this book. If you read more for the plot, you might not like it as much just because of how confusing and abstract it can be. But basically it follows these two witches, Celia and I think his name is Marco. They are trained by their masters from a young age. They don't know each other, but they've been trained this whole time for a competition that the masters have set up. And they don't know, but this competition will only leave one of them standing. And the battleground for this competition is the Night Circus. So the Night Circus is real magic that is being played to the public as fake magic. And the circus pops up all over, and it pops up without warning. It's very magical. The vibes are very good. It's very descriptive of the environment, the sights, the sounds, the food of the circus, and the performances and the events and stuff. So it's very descriptive and immersive in that sense. Even if the plot is a little confusing, you should still check this one out. Okay, my last recommendation for you for the fall reading season is 3 chunky fantasy books, and that is The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. These are all by Carissa Broadbent. 6 Scorched Roses, and The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. So, you might have heard me talk about The Serpent and the Wings of Night when I first got it, and I first finished it maybe, but I recently have finished The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. I give both of these 4.5. I give the novella a 5-star. So the first one, it follows Oriah, who is the human daughter of the Vampire King. She is going to participate in the Kajari, which is sort of like the Hunger Games a little bit. So it's sort of vampires meets Hunger Games, but more adult-ish. And she is gonna have an ally in a man named Rain, a vampire. And it goes from there. I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to tell you too much about it because it's so good. And I love it, and it's very near and dear to my heart. But after this book comes the novella Six Scorched Roses, which follows two different characters, Vale and Lilith. And Vale is a vampire and Lilith is a human. This is a very short story. It could be read as a standalone fantasy. You don't really have to read the other two to get this one at all. She sort of re-explains the world building in this one. But this one follows Lilith as she is presenting Vale, the vampire, with these 6 like magical roses in exchange for his blood, and she wants to use his blood as a cure for a plague that has been ravaging her town since she was born. And so she's gonna have 6 encounters with Vale as she trades him these roses, and the plot will unwind. There's some plot twists. There's obviously a romance between Vale and Lilith. I think it's very sweet. It's probably one of the best romances I've ever read because it's so sweet and caring and loving and such. But yes, these 2 characters are in the second book in the main series, which is The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. Vale and Lilith actually don't have as big of roles as I thought they would have in this book. They are important, but you don't need to read the novella to get them in this book because they're not that relevant. That information isn't that relevant. It's just really nice background context, and this book is a 5-star, so you should read it anyway. But the second one I cannot tell you too much about because it's spoilers for the first one. Just know that the second one follows Oriah and Rain once again, but this time they are having to work together to take over a kingdom, sort of, kind of. There's a lot of plot. There's a lot of plot twists. There's a lot of turns. A lot of it is reliant on the first book, so that's why I cannot tell you very much, but it's so good. Both the first one and the second one are 4.5 stars for me. As I said, this series is very near and dear to my heart. I cannot wait to read the rest. It'll actually be a 6-book series, but they're going to be broken into duets. So these 2, the next 2, and then the next 2, following different areas in this world. But that's it. You should read those. Alright, that does conclude my fall TBR list for you that you should be reading. Not my list, because I've already read all these and I love all them. Let me know if you decide to check any of these out. I definitely think you should. I think these are all very good, very vibesy. October reading is all about the vibes to me personally. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And see you later. Bye, Tater.